Welcome to our 15-minute pelvic floor focus. So this is a topic that's not the most glamorous yoga topic, but it's extremely relevant. It's something that I think you will have picked up on. I focus on, and that is by way of sort of my meticulousness and constant reinforcing of how we hold our pelvis in our body and the awareness of our pelvis in our body. So if you're less familiar, or if you're not 100% sure of what exactly the pelvic floor is, I know the first thing that comes to a lot of people's mind is like a Kegel, and it's about a lot more than that. So the pelvic floor, try to think of it like a hammock, and that hammock supports bowels, it supports bladder, and it supports sexual organs like the uterus in women. Okay, so it is something that is maybe more known through women, especially ones that have had children, and but that's not to say that pelvic floor dysfunction can't affect everybody. There are people, and they are wonderful, caring, very, very knowledgeable people called pelvic floor therapists. And if that is not somebody that you are familiar with, and yet you're sitting watching this video or going through this, knowing that you have some pelvic floor dysfunction of some sort, I would highly recommend, and I would be happy to refer you to a pelvic floor therapist. Something that's a little bit unfortunate in our current society is that dysfunction. So again, think of the three areas that the hammock of the pelvic floor supports. So think bladder, bowel, or sexual dysfunction has become sort of normalized, and it's not something that's normal at all. But it's something that unfortunately is pretty common. So yeah, I certainly just would say to you, if this is relevant to you, or if you're interested at all, you should maybe pursue having a meeting with a pelvic floor therapist, and you could certainly heal and transform, I know, a lot of different conditions that are really sort of taxing on not only your physical body, but your mental being. So with that being said, we have pregnant mamas, and we have some postnatal, as in within a year of having a baby, mamas that are participating in this 31 days of yoga. So I'm really happy that you guys get the opportunity to practice this. But for absolutely everybody, this is going to incorporate some visualization and some tuning in and asking, you know, that sort of brain-body connection I talk about. It's going to be finding a certain area of the body and really trying to draw some awareness and some energy. So it's all good. It's another one of those practices that's just really good to understand, even on just kind of a surface level, and see if you can carry it through and build on the other yoga practice or exercise or lifestyle that you have. So we're going to start seated, just comfortably. You could prop yourself up on a pillow if you want to. Okay, just take the hands onto the knees, let your palms relax and turn up. Let's just close our eyes for a second. Just take a couple of deep breaths in just to settle in and find that posture. Try to relax the muscles of your face. Relax your shoulders down away from your ears. Before we really do many movements or stretches at all, I want to see if you guys can establish this visualization of connecting our brain with the pelvic floor. So something that's important or interesting to know is the diaphragm, which in pranayama or yoga breathing, we try to connect with the diaphragm. So that is like the barrier or the dividing point between the thoracic cavity, which is heart and lungs, and the abdominal cavity, which is all of our sort of internal organs. So the diaphragm comes somewhere in the middle here. And lots of times when we're breathing, we try to find this downward sort of press into the diaphragm with our breath. It allows us to fill the lungs completely and soften the abdomen. So what's already maybe something that you practice and you don't really realize is that the diaphragm and the pelvic floor are connected. So when we press the diaphragm down, there's also this pressing down or relaxing of the pelvic floor. And when we draw the diaphragm up into the chest or the rib cage up, then we also can work at the same time to really draw the pelvic floor up. So if you imagine both those two spots as being like a parachute or like a jellyfish, okay, so they're working up and we're also able to press them down. They're sort of moving like that. That's just a visualization in your mind and a connection between the two. So we're gonna bring ourselves into a little bit of belly breathing. And it may take you a few moments to sort of establish that connection, but at first I just want you to visualize or imagine that candy cane shape of the breath. So we're drawing air in through the nose, all the way down into the bottom of the lungs and pressing the diaphragm down. So the belly is going to rise away from you. And then with your exhale, just let your belly soften. The diaphragm will draw back up. So just practice that a couple times. If it's helpful, you can bring your hands right onto the abdomen. Breathing into the hands with your inhale. Relaxing with the exhale. And see if as we do this, if you're able to establish a sensation or a connection with the pelvic floor as well. So as you inhale and fill the belly, can you relax the pelvic floor? Imagine pressing down with your exhale, drawing up. Good job. Take one more breath. Good. If your hands are on the belly, bring them back to the knees. Just open your eyes gently here. And we're going to come on to hands and knees. So that same sensation or awareness into the pelvic floor is really kind of paramount to a pelvic floor focus. And so a lot of times too, when pelvic floor issues go hand in hand with pregnancy, and I say issues as in it might just be your circumstance that you're carrying a child. It might not be that you have any type of dysfunction. A lot of times we will prompt the engagement through the core of belly to spine. And what I want you to think about instead is that drawing up of the pelvic floor and at the same time closing elevator doors across your abdomen. So instead of thinking belly straight back to spine, think of closing the front side of your body inwards and drawing the pelvic floor up into the abdomen. Okay, see if you can visualize that. We're just going to do that from table. So press away from the floor as we normally would. Tip your tailbone just slightly, all the same foundation and principles as a regular yoga practice. And then just see if you can draw, almost do a Kegel. So pelvic floor up, engaging through the core. And just holding here. This is called Mula Bandha. It's a root lock or a pelvic floor lock. I won't get too technical about that. I know we have lots of newbies here. So as we take our few cat-cows, I want you to really have your awareness on the pelvis. So as we inhale and come forward to cow, see if you can relax the root or the base. Let your sit bones open, so let the pelvis spread. And then with your exhale, draw that elevator doors close. Engage Mula Bandha, so drawing up through the pelvic floor. And then repeat. Inhale, relax your base. Let your pelvis open. Exhale. Parachute action, so drawing pelvic floor up, drawing low ribs together. Last time here. Good job. Coming back just to a neutral spine. Just start to send your hips back. We're going to draw just like a U shape or a horseshoe shape with the hips. So sort of a transfer of weight and sitting back. So I would say that when you're thinking of pelvic floor, if you're somebody who really has issues, then I could, help you get a little more aware of some specific things that you can do to target that. But really it's just an awareness. It's another awareness. It's like layers of an onion. We bring a lot of awareness to the pelvis, a lot of awareness to the spine and to the breath, and the pelvic floor is another way that, like I say, we can further enhance just our regular yoga classes. So we're going to come into kind of a crouch, so your feet can come wide, drop your bum down. Now if you want to come right into malasana or our yogi squat, that's great. Otherwise, just take your hands down and just shift your weight side to side. So just notice here how this helps to stretch and open all the adductor muscles, all the connection on the inside of the pelvis. And then we're going to either just stay in this crouch if you're unable to have feet flat in malasana, or you're going to join me in our yogi squat. So one of the ways in something such as a squat that we can really engage the pelvic floor is to think about the supporting muscles of the legs. So squeeze with your quads, lift your bum up about an inch. You may want to bring arms out in front of you. Take a breath. Keep the muscles turned on, so keep engagement. Don't let your body just collapse down into the joints and sort of sag. Try to keep that lift, that upward flow of energy. Lots of strength and power down through the bottoms of the feet. Take one more breath. Great job. Hands are going to come down. Come back down onto your knees here for a second. Stretch your legs out. And then we're going to come into child's pose. So taking the knees wide, you can have the big toes together, but if you want to join me, we also could keep the feet as wide as the mat. So sitting back, as you sit back, try to draw some awareness to that pelvic floor. Just try to relax your whole body down, and really any variation of child's pose would be fine here. What I want you to really think about in your mind is breathing into the backside of your body. Lots of times I reference breathing between the shoulder blades, so as you take a deep breath in, feeling the shoulder blades expand or your back broaden. See if as we take a few breaths here, if you can make that connection down the spine, so into the low back. Can you feel the hips widen with your inhale? And then finally all the way down into the root or the base. So as you inhale, breathe into the center of the pelvis. Relax your pelvic floor. Just like anything else, I really think it's important to try to make the connection with relaxing the muscle. And that is going to help you then in turn to build strength in the muscle. So poses such as this, where we can just kind of soften and surrender, are really important if you want to achieve some strength and some connection between brain and body. Just take one more breath. Good job, guys. Come all the way forward. We're actually going to lay down here. So just swinging the legs out in front and then coming down onto our backs. Just take a second, flatten your feet, bend your knees. Be mindful of adjusting your back just like you would at any other time. Kind of walk the shoulder blades underneath. Lengthen that tailbone down the mat, engage belly. So remember, drawing across the body. Don't worry about belly to spine. You might even not have that sensation. Think about closing the points of your hips and the low ribs in towards each other, like we're wrapping saran wrap around the abdomen. Bringing our hands onto the belly, and just take a couple breaths here, practicing that same parachute action as you do a belly breath. So as you take an inhale, press both the diaphragm and the pelvic floor down. And as you exhale, draw both up. Good work. Okay, so our hands are going to just come down beside us, palms down. Bring your feet about hip distance apart here. And I want you to see if you can find that mula bandha, so that root lock. So it's like a kegel. It's like holding a kegel, drawing the muscles in and up, engaging through the belly, preparing to lift up into bridge. And as you do so, just walking the shoulder blades together underneath you. Some people like to interlace fingers. I personally like to just keep palms down, but it's up to you. I want you to see if you can activate through all these supporting muscles in the low body that support the pelvis. So the quads are firm, the glutes are working. See if you can maintain that mula bandha, so that pulling up from the inside, drawing all the way up into the abdomen and the diaphragm up into the rib cage. Couple deep breaths. And a great job. One more breath. Good. Lowering all the way down. And then bringing the knees in towards the chest. Just rock side to side. Final pose of our little pelvic floor focus is going to be happy baby. So we're going to take bottoms of the feet up. Now, for some people, it's difficult to reach up and pull the ankles wide or let the feet be wide. I don't mind variations where you take a hold of the back side of your thighs if you need to. If you're able to reach up through the inside of the knees and grab a hold of the outside of the feet. Again, use it as an opportunity to sort of soften and surrender. If you need to rock side to side, that's fine. Try to release the clench, that sort of natural protective clench that we have through the groin, through the inner thighs. Everything is connected. Try to soften. Take one more breath. Good. Let your feet find the floor. We'll just take one nice long stretch, and we're going to make our way all the way back up to seated. As you need to, roll into your side, or you can rock your way up to the top. Okay, my friends, coming back into just a seated position for a second. And so I hope that that was just like a little insight into how we can connect with the pelvic floor. Like I said at the beginning, certainly something to be pursued if you feel like you have any dysfunction. It is something that society has sort of normalized, but you do not need to live with those kind of debilitating things. So reach out if you want a referral to a pelvic floor therapist, then that's what I'm here for. I can provide some ways that you can incorporate awareness through your yoga practice, but really it's up to the healthcare professionals, but I know that they can help you. If you are pre or postnatal, see if you can really be mindful of incorporating some of these pelvic floor visualizations through your practice, and it's going to help you immensely just with strength in the pelvis and post-baby recovery. So take care, everybody. Thank you for joining me. We're going to close our practice quickly, taking thumbs to forehead, kind thoughts, to mouth, kind words, and to chest, kind hearts. Namaste.